Up with KREM begins now.
Hi friends, good morning. It's Tuesday. Welcome to the show. I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Nicole Hernandez. We want to get right over to meteorologist Thomas Patrick. Thomas, it's just another week of dry weather. Do we ever see snow come back to the mountains?
Ooh, the answer might actually be yes to that.
Please.
Because I do actually have precipitation chances in the forecast for the first time in, I want to say 3 weeks. It's been a while, but we at least have a chance to get some mountain snow, especially Thursday and Friday. Hopefully snow levels don't climb too high during that weather pattern. I'll cover that a little bit more in detail coming up, but just to get you started today, our current temperatures are in the 20s almost across the board here, and that is actually a bit warmer than it was at this point yesterday morning, about 5 to 10 degrees warmer for eastern Washington and all of North Idaho. So starting to move in that warmer direction, but it's still chilly outside, obviously, with those temps in the 20s. Mostly cloudy today. I think our first precipitation chances in, again, that nearly 3 weeks starts late tonight and early tomorrow morning, and it very well could be a rain-snow mix for most.
Here's a live look at the traffic impact this morning from I-90 and Sullivan. Right now, traffic moving great here. No major issues. People up and moving here on this Tuesday, and we're not seeing any crashes or slowdowns. We'll keep a close eye on traffic throughout the show with live pictures throughout the morning. On Up with KREM, we bring you weather and traffic together every 30 minutes. The time now is 6:02. Tracking today, sources tell CBS News that U.S. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino and some federal agents are expected to leave Minneapolis as soon as today.
Minnesota leaders have been asking for this from the beginning, but especially after federal agents killed Renee Good and Alex Preddy. In a press conference on Saturday, Bovino said Preddy was planning to, quote, massacre federal agents. But several verified videos of what happened contradict his statements.
People are losing faith that the federal government can be capable of enforcing federal law and doing it professionally and without widespread constitutional violations.
With pushback from this most recent shooting, President Trump seems to be changing course. On social media, the president said he spoke with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. He says border czar Tom Homan will now work with state and local officials.
Last night, people in Spokane held a vigil for Preddy at Riverfront Park. Organizers say they hope to honor his death and raise awareness.
The grief and the pain that we hold in our heart of what's happening for our country, we have to engage in things that are more subtle, that play to that grief.
People left flowers, candles, and snacks in honor of Preddy. Some also remembered Renee Good.
ICE is, to be blunt, completely and totally out of control.
Washington Governor Bob Ferguson and Attorney General Nick Brown held a joint press conference yesterday. They explained their plans for if ICE comes to Washington. They wrote a letter to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. In it, they said Washington will use, quote, every legal option to oppose unconstitutional conduct by ICE in Washington state, end quote. Ferguson also met with Washington leaders to talk about activating the National Guard. Washington state does not have to cooperate with the federal government, but one state senator says this could make tension worse.
Is taking it to a whole nother level of lawlessness. And I beg this governor, don't do this.
Ferguson is also asking state legislators to pass a bill that would ban face coverings for law enforcement officers. Here locally today, the annual point-in-time count starts in Spokane.
The yearly count gives an estimate on how many unhoused people live in the area. KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones live in Spokane for us. Brandon, tell us more about this and how long the count is expected to last. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tim, Nicole. Well, the account officially begins today and it will last until next Monday, February 2nd. So over the next few days, you'll see volunteers making their way around Spokane County here in downtown Spokane as well, conducting that count. The overall goal of this count is to provide an estimate on what kind of resources are needed for each area throughout the country, because this is a part of a national count as well. So volunteers are spread out with outreach teams checking known areas where unsheltered people are located located. And that includes homeless shelters, of course. Here in Spokane, count results from the last 2 years have shown a decline in the overall number of people experiencing homelessness. In 2025, the survey showed the number of sheltered homeless people decreased from 1,578 people down to 1,189 people. The count did, however, show an increase in unsheltered individuals. That number was 443 in 2024. In 2025, it jumped up to 617 unsheltered people. In total, the count surveyed 1,806 people across Spokane that were experiencing homelessness. And also worth noting, this week, the annual Spokane Homeless Connect will be taking place. That's tomorrow, Wednesday, taking place at the Spokane Convention Center. That's a one-stop shop for all things resources and for those in need. For now, reporting here in downtown Spokane, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
The time now is 6:06. This morning we're following up on the STA double-decker bus that slammed into a railroad viaduct. New details in the investigation is looking into potential issues with the onboard navigation system.
That crash sent 7 people to the hospital, and STA pulled its fleet of double-decker buses off the road. KREM 2's Mark Hanrahan breaks down what's next.
A little more than a week after an STA double-decker bus slammed into the railroad viaduct in downtown Spokane, the agency outlines its path forward. The Transit Authority detailed its investigation, saying they're examining the driver's training and knowledge of the routes. They also pointed out that driver was trained and authorized to operate the double-decker bus and also had experience on the routes. They're also looking into any potential issues with the bus's onboard navigation system, saying they will coordinate with the vendor to identify the origin and scope of any potential issue. In the meantime, the fleet of double-deckers will remain out of service. No timeline for their return. Before they do return, STA says they'll implement additional safety measures. Those include another round of training for drivers on bus height awareness and routes. The navigation software has been disabled, and drivers will instead rely on the required training of assigned routes. Drivers will start making what they call safety stops before passing under viaducts, similar to how they stop at railroad crossings. And drivers will also have to check in with dispatch when coming or going from the downtown core to confirm their route. Finally, the STA saying they are confident the buses are operationally safe, and they will continue to take a disciplined approach as they move forward.
The Idaho Department of Correction is looking for an inmate who walked away from his job in Lewiston. This is the man on your screen right here. They last saw 42-year-old David Johnson at a job site in Lewiston around 7:30 yesterday morning. Johnson is 6'1", about 182 pounds, and has brown eyes and brown hair. He was wearing a black hoodie and blue jeans. If you have any information about where he is, call 911.
Right now, across the country, millions are still digging out and cleaning up in the winter storm that swept across the nation. Officials warning drivers there is a risk when getting behind the wheel. In Tennessee and other states, power crews are working nonstop, trying to turn the lights and heat back on.
I got school tomorrow, so if my professor sees this, I'll be late for like 2 days.
Well, this man is trying to get to Reno. Right now, he is stuck in Texas. The storm froze air travel, too. Tens of thousands of flights were canceled because of the weather, leaving travelers stranded nationwide.
One of the big impacts from that snow and ice storm that hit the southern and eastern U.S. is that in its wake came some extremely cold weather. We're talking about wind chills below zero, even for Texas, Arkansas, and even northern Louisiana. That has kept all that snow and ice on the ground for several days afterwards, which is even more unusual than the winter weather in the first place for that part of the country. Extreme cold warnings still in effect this morning for most. Meanwhile, back in the Northwest, we are in a slight warming trend today that just puts us back to normal for this afternoon. But these temperatures will continue to roll over eventually into the 40s at first. Even a few spots might get there today, including in Pullman, Ritzville, and Moses Lake.
Today, January 27th, marks International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It commemorates the anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. This video from earlier today shows survivors paying tribute and honoring the memory of the 6 million Jewish people killed by the Nazis.